Welcome into the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio on a Wednesday, supernatural news and Parashare. And yes, we do have one Parashare for you today. I'm your host, Tim Dennis, and I do have a co-host today. As a matter of fact, not only do I have a co-host today, but I have a special introduction for her. That's right. She's so popular, she now has the audience writing her introductions for her. So let me get this straight before we bring her in. I have it right here in front of me. I have to read it verbatim. Put your hands down and perk your ears up for the melodious maven of the Midwest, the mistress of Mitteness, Mainland, Michigan. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Mallie Fox. Mallie, how you doing?
Good. That was pretty good.
That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. Kind of a tongue twister, though, with all those M's.
I know. I had to make sure I had it right. In fact, I read it a couple of times to make sure I would hit it just right. I got to thank Eric for that. Eric, thank you so much for sending that in. And by the way, Eric comes up with a pretty good idea here. So we're going to follow through with this, Mallie. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
We're turning this into a contest.
Oh, boy.
So if you think you can outdo Eric, we're starting a Mallie introduction contest or a Jessica introduction contest.
Okay, there we go.
We'll make it a co-host introduction contest is what we're calling it. So if you think you can do better than Timmy at introducing our co-hosts, send them in. If you have a favorite one for Jess or a favorite one for Mallie, by all means, try to outdo me. Or outdo Eric, for that matter. You can send it in to tim@darknessradio.com. And if I like it, I'll go ahead and I'll throw it in the bin here. We'll give away what Stan Lee used to call our world famous no prize, which is exactly what it sounds like. Maybe if I don't know if I really like it, I'm sure I can find some sort of Darkness Radio something or another to send out to you. But I'll contact you. Don't contact me. We'll put it that way. But yeah, I thought Eric put together an exceptional one. As a matter of fact, the way he started out is, I'll just put it this way. This is how he started out his email. I know it's not incredibly important, yet I enjoy the intros you try out with Mallie and Jess greatly. So he said it's likely the reaction you get, but all the same, I thought I'd toss one your way. It's what I yell back at the audio stream, but it's super productive and sane. So here's mine. So I think I think maybe he likes to yell out his own intros while I'm doing mine. So I figured, why not? I'd yell out his, and he could yell along with me.
Well, your intro always makes me sound like I'm a prostitute.
Well,
from the Wild Wild West.
For once, you didn't sound like a prostitute. How do you like that, Mel?
I know. I liked his intro. It was very nice.
Maybe we'll have to make it your normal intro. Who knows? Although I don't know if I could get out Melodious Maven of the Midwest and the Mistress of Mitteness, Mainland, Michigan on a regular basis. That sounds like my warm-ups from broadcasting school.
Right.
Wow. They don't pay me that much to warm up like that. Just saying. Yikes. But no, it was a good shot there, Eric. That was absolutely. And of course, if you think you can outdo Eric, tim@darknessradio.com. I welcome it. Bring it on. Let's see what you can do. I'm all for it. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a talented man.
He is. That indeed. So I look forward to seeing what you guys got. I was kind of excited to read that. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious with Jessica, with all the J's, like what words you could use for J's. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And please, not the, well, I can think of a lot of J words, but I'm gonna shelve them. Yeah. I'm quite alliterative, so I'll put those away and not give anybody any ideas right now. I'll let you come up with them, kids. You just talk amongst yourselves while we do supernatural news. Speaking of, boy, do we have a lot of stuff going on. We do have one Parashare story today. I have that for you today. Lots of stuff going on in the interstellar news, that's for sure. In fact, one story today, Mallie, that might scare you a bit.
Okay.
Coming from one scientist. We can lead off with it right now, as a matter of fact. There's a scientist delivering an ominous message to humanity, all of humanity, after a UFO covered in strange writing is found. And I think this is going back to, in fact, it is going back to the story that Travis and I talked about when you were away on Mother's Day break. This little picture that I'm showing you right here, this little sphere covered in strange writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Travis and I were talking about this over the Mother's Day week. This strange sphere was discovered in Colombia. It displayed symbols that researchers compared to ancient scripts, including runes and Mesopotamian writing systems. At the time, Travis and I didn't know much about it, but we were talking about it, and we thought maybe it had Atlantean writing. I mean, it looked strange. But a UFO researcher has an ominous message for humanity as governments around the world began releasing more information about alleged contact with extraterrestrials. Dr. Julia Mossbridge is a cognitive neuroscientist and a researcher of unidentified aerial phenomena, the new term for UFOs and alien sightings. After scientists in Colombia recovered a mysterious sphere-shaped object that many now believe is a piece of UFO technology, Mossbridge said the world is moving into an era which may soon have to deal with the knowledge that aliens exist. We are entering a time when we are starting to recognize as humans that we don't have the control that we thought we had over everything, Dr. Mossbridge told Fox News. However, Mossbridge, who studies how humans think and also attended the May 1st congressional hearing on UAPs, said the impending disclosure of alien life could throw the worldview of many people into chaos. One of the mistakes we make is saying, because I think I understand this, everything I think today is true, the neuroscientist explained. It ends up making us very confused when something shows up that doesn't fit our model of the world, she added. While the sphere in Colombia is convincing many that the public is finally looking at alien technology, Mossbridge actually remains skeptical that this discovery is a genuine UFO, which I'm kind of in that camp myself, the more I see this thing. The sphere itself seems kind of like an art project, the UFO researcher said, adding that she believes that it was created by humans and not aliens. I'm in that camp as well. Mossbridge noted that no direct connection has been made between a video of what's being called the Buga sphere, B-U-G-A, Buga sphere, and the actual metal object found in Colombia. If an artist is doing this, why is that? Well, I think it's partly the same reason. It's because we're learning that we don't understand what's in our skies or our waters, which Travis did say he thought this was a USO. A submersible object. And he hinted that he thought it was maybe Atlantean. And there's something going on that's essentially bigger than us, Mossbridge explained. The so-called UFO was spotted in March over the town of Buga, Colombia, zigzagging through the sky in a way that defies the movement of conventional aircraft. The same object was allegedly recovered shortly after it landed and has been since analyzed by scientists who discovered it featured 3 layers of metal-like material and 18 microspheres surrounding a central nucleus they are calling a chip. Dr. Jose Luis Velasquez, a radiologist who examined the sphere, reported finding no welds or joints, which would typically provide a clue that humans made it. It is of artificial origin, in that it shows no evidence of welding, and its internal structure is composed of high-density elements. More testing is needed to establish its origin, Velasquez and his team contended. The sphere also displays symbols that the team compared to ancient scripts, including runes, Ogham, and Mesopotamian writing systems. Using AI to assist in deciphering the design, of course, we know how dependable AI is. The team interpreted the message to read, "The origin of birth through union and energy in the cycle of transformation, meeting point of unity, expansion, and consciousness, individual consciousness." And that's the message. We interpret it as a message to humanity, encouraging a collective shift in consciousness to help Mother Earth, especially considering the current issues with pollution and environmental decline, the researchers said. Interesting. David Velez El Potro, who is one of the individuals who recovered the object, recently spoke on Masson Television, hosted by journalist and ufologist Jamie Masson, whose research has stirred controversy for nearly a decade. Masson gained attention in 2017 for the cake aliens. You know, the ones in Peru? The ones
I'm trying to think. The ones in Peru.
Yeah, the ones that look like cake. The ones that Bruiser says look like cake.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Velez El Potro has claimed that the sphere is authentic. The ones that were found in the woods of Buga. He told Masson that the man who found it, Jose, felt sick for days after touching the object.
Oh.
Now, one of the things that, and Velez El Potro says some of the things that Travis backed up in his report on Mother's Day week, and that's this. When I poured water on it, it started to smoke, and the water vaporized instantly, so water did not stick to it. And it didn't just pour off, suggesting the interior was hot and the exterior was cold. There have been no official reports or scientific analysis to confirm claims of a sphere falling over Buga. Only eyewitnesses' reports. I don't know what that means. Velez El Potro said the government contacted him to hand over the sphere. But he refused, saying it would never be seen again if he did so. So he didn't hand it over to the government. Okay. Mossbridge noted that Velez El Potro's alleged discovery is the latest incident where people outside of the government trying to find out what's going on with UAPs before someone comes in and shuts down the investigation. Non-governmental, nonpartisan research groups like the Galileo Project and the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies have all been working to prove the existence of alien life in recent years. They are all trying to get rigorous information themselves, not necessarily waiting on the federal government about what's going on in our skies and what's going on in our waters, she said. Actually, there's an interesting picture here of David Velez El Potro. I think this is him holding the sphere. Let me hold this up so you can see it, Mallie. That's an interesting picture.
Okay.
That's how big the sphere is.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Interesting picture, huh? Yeah, it's kind of the size of a beach ball, which is quite big. And like Travis had stated last week, this thing hit a high voltage power line, and that's how it came down. It was like a 10,000 volt power line, and that's the only thing that felled it and brought it down from the sky. Velez El Potro gave it to Masson and his team of experts with the hopes of them uncovering the sphere's origin. Researchers found that the sphere had irregular edges, indicating that it is a solid object. The findings suggest that the outer layer could be made of titanium or steel, but researchers noted that a full composition analysis needed to confirm this. X-rays did not reveal any visible signs of how the mysterious object was assembled. It's an interesting story. And, you know, it's one of those stories that actually was broken by TikTok, of all places.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the videos on it were viral and have been out there for weeks before it even hit mainstream media. Mainstream media is actually behind on this. And I think they've had to play catch up because the stories have been kind of wild and out there, and there's a lot of information flying back and forth. Now, according to what Travis reported with us last week, or not last week, but the week before, It is now in the hands of Mexico. I think the Mexican government. It went from Colombia to Mexico, and Mexico is holding on to it for safekeeping. But it's and the idea was there were too many people that were trying to get a hold of this thing, including the Russian government.
Oh,
Russia wanted it. It's incredibly interesting. Now, a little birdie told me that this thing may be more human-made than we know. That's all I can say.
Okay.
It may not be completely extraterrestrial.
Okay.
We'll just leave it there.
Gotcha.
But the way that it is made suggests...
Because there's no welding.
Right. Suggests it is influenced by alien technology, which means if it's human-made and it's influenced by alien technology, that has to mean that, again, we're not alone, but yet we still have got plans. You know, we've got plans from alien neighbors, so there has to be some spirit of cooperation here somewhere.
Right.
There's some department working somewhere with aliens, and we have their plans. Again, we're swapping out tech for something. So we're giving something to them. We're getting something in return, which is a scary proposition. What are we giving over in return for getting stuff like this?
Now, your friend are they saying how old it is? I mean, are we thinking this is really old?
No idea.
Or are we thinking this is new?
No idea. No clue. I wasn't told anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just interesting. So
okay.
Just file that away.
Okay.
File that away. That it may not be complete. It could be centuries old.
Right.
Or it could be brand new. Just file that away.
Gotcha.
And maybe tie it to all the drone sightings that were out there.
Ah, okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll just put that in your bonnet for a bit. Just let it rest there. And we'll move on to the next story.
Okay.
And actually, before we move on to the next story, I meant to put this in a little preamble before the show. By the time this airs tomorrow, you'll have already, some of you wrestling fans have already probably watched NXT. I know I'm taking you on a left turn real quick here. But I gotta say, speaking of UFOs, one of our big UFO fans out there, one of the guys who's had a UFO experience in the Bronx there, one of our guys, one of our big-time wrestling guys, Mike Santana from TNA, showed up in WWE over the weekend on the NXT Battleground pay-per-view, and he's on NXT tonight as we tape on Tuesday.
Okay.
I want to say congratulations to Mike. He's a good friend of the show. Way to go, buddy. I'm not going to spoil what happened last night, but let's just say big things are coming his way. And we're proud of you.
That's great.
Yeah, we're proud of you, buddy. So, and we'll be watching. So, I'm excited.
Oh.
I'm excited. So, he deserves it. Very much deserves it. He's been working hard. So, all right. So, on to the next story. The Pentagon's UFO office is plans a high-tech system to track confidential sightings. There's a slew of these stories that are coming down the pike here. Now,
okay.
Officials at the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office are looking into new ways to track and manage cases. According to reports, the Pentagon has invited contractors to present proposals for a brand new and secure software-based platform to manage and track the increasing number of UFO reports being submitted by pilots, military personnel, and other confidential sources. The proposed custom case management system would be set up on the same intranet that hosts the Defense Department's Joint Worldwide Intelligence Communication Systems, or JWICS. Sources suggest that this is, in fact, the first time that AARO has solicited for a system of this nature since the department was founded back in 2022. The move indicates that the UFO office is having to deal with an increasing number of UFO reports and that existing systems for storing and managing them are insufficient. A case management system, or CMS, will assist AARO in tracking the status of the UAP reports and its holdings and meeting its records management requirements, particularly as the office works to launch a public UAP reporting mechanism, an official told Defense Scoop. AARO currently uses a variety of tools for its mission management needs and seeks to integrate them. That's the quote. It's clear that security will be an important factor in setting up a new system, as will the implementation of functionality sufficient to enable investigators to access and manage the reports. While the move doesn't tell us too much about the nature of the reports being managed, it does indicate that AARO's workload is increasing and that it has no plans to wind down its operations. Perhaps one day we may even get the chance to check out these reports for ourselves. Again, I wouldn't hold your breath, but you might get to check them out one day. Our next story has to do with Avi Loeb's Galileo project and the possibility that they're using AI to help detect alien technology.
Okay.
All right. Efforts to detect unidentified aerial phenomena remain ongoing at one of America's most prestigious universities. Launched back in 2021, the nonprofit Galileo Project aims to detect extraterrestrial technosignatures or signs of alien technology, as well as to record and analyze evidence of UFOs or UAPs. Much of the observation and data analysis conducted to date has come courtesy of the Harvard College Observatory. This makes me wonder, with all the moves that have been made with Harvard recently, if they're even going to have funding, which was installed on the roof of the university itself in 2022. Its findings are processed through artificial intelligence to help differentiate between genuine anomalies and various mundane objects such as birds, balloons, drones, and satellites. There are also plans to expand the project across other sites in the future. In many ways, the project has been a response to the fact that traditional searches for alien life have focused almost exclusively on listening out for extraterrestrial signals from space. SETI, for example, was predicated on the assumption that extraterrestrials communicate via radio waves, a technology we have used for just over a century, and which advanced extraterrestrials may have long ago left behind, said Loeb, who maintains that seeking evidence of actual alien technology is a much more viable approach. He also believes that examples of such technology might be found within our own solar system. While the project is ultimately still in its early days, it is hoped that over time it will grow into something that might just have a chance of finding the first confirmed evidence of alien life. You know, they're using other systems now to try and find communication with aliens. They're not using radio waves so much anymore. They're using things like infrared, and they're using other communication devices, and they're trying to get away from radio waves because they're thinking, well, why would an alien use radio waves? You know, or why would they use RF? It's so outdated. It's such an outdated way of thinking. They're using different vibrations, and they're using things other than sound to communicate. It's kind of interesting the different ways they're using to try and communicate with beings, and they're thinking outside the box too, which is kind of cool. Well, alien life isn't just humanoids walking around. There are bacteria that are considered alien life, and some mysterious microbes have been found on a space station that have never been seen before now.
Oh, okay.
The unknown strain of bacteria, which exists nowhere on Earth, was found aboard China's Tiangong space station. Life seems to be finding a way to adapt to thrive in outer space. At least that is according to an analysis of a never-before-seen strain of bacteria that was discovered inside one of the living quarters of China's orbiting Tiangong space station. Named, oh boy, I don't know if I can hit this one. Let me try this.
Better you than me.
Named Nealia Tiangong Genesis. Oh, the beginning of Tiangong. See what they did there? The new strain is a variant of a common soil-dwelling bacteria typically found on Earth, but that has somehow ended up in orbit with new adaptations to help it survive there. It was found near the Shenzhou 15 mission crew and collected swabs before departing in 2023. Some of the adaptations evident in the new strain include the ability to repair radiation damage and the ability to form biofilms by breaking down gelatin to extract carbon and nitrogen. Boy, if it could fix my car, I'd adopt it and bring it home.
This sounds like the beginning of some like sci-fi horror movie.
You want to hear the next one? It really does.
Oh.
While the regular version of this bacteria found on Earth can cause sepsis in certain cases.
Oh, jeez.
Yikes. It is not clear whether or not this new strain is in any way harmful to humans.
Oh.
I don't want to find out.
No, leave it there in space.
Right. Understanding the characteristics of microbes during long-term space missions is essential for safeguarding the health of astronauts and maintaining the functionality of spacecraft, the researchers wrote. You know, here's the funny thing about bacteria like this. And it's funny because when I did have sepsis quite a few years ago, I got a lot of time to talk to Dr. Strike over at U of M, at the time the head of infectious diseases. You have a lot of time when you're flat on your back and they tell you could die. And what he told me was this, bacteria can go one of two ways. They can either mutate out and be non-harmful and non-lethal, or they can get more lethal, right? But it's funny, the way that they're talking about this bacteria, it might have just mutated itself out of being non-lethal. It might have gone the opposite direction.
Right.
Which maybe that's a good thing, right? Maybe being up in space, it could have gone the way of the dodo. Let's hope it did.
Yeah. So you're like a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, 50-50 chance, right? Most of the time here on Earth, it gets more lethal as it mutates. It gets just more dangerous. And I mean, hence why antibiotics really aren't working anymore. Because bacteria gets more and more lethal. We keep using antibiotics for a cold, and we just end up shooting our reserves in the foot. But yeah.
But what if they bring that bacteria back with them when they come to Earth? And it goes the opposite way. If it
mutates again,
yes.
and it could, there's always the possibility it could jump back into lethality. It could happen. It could happen. You never know. That's what happens when it mutates, right? Well, our next story has to do with astronomers detecting a mysterious, perfectly spherical object in deep space emitting radio signals. We just talked about, different ways of communication. Sometimes radio signals aren't just communication, though. Sometimes radio signals are just signals bouncing off of, in different things in space emit radio signals. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're actively communicating.
Okay.
Weird things emit radio signals. A team of astronomers using the Australian Square Kilometre Array Pathfinder, or ASCAP, which, by the way, ASCAP also monitors radio stations for and clubs for trying to play a song without having rights. Trust me, I know. ASCAP radio telescope have detected a mysterious, almost perfectly spherical object in deep space named Teleos, Greek for perfection. The spherical object was invisible apart from the radio emissions it produces. And while similar to a supernova remnant, in many aspects. It also possesses features that evade immediate identification. In a pre-published study titled "The Mystery of a Perfectly Shaped New Galactic Supernova Remnant," I know you can't wait to hear about it because that's an exciting title. I know I'm teasing it. The astronomy team behind the puzzling discovery details the aspects of the unusual spherical object that support classification as an SNR. They also highlight several unusual properties of the object that seem to contradict this conclusion, keeping the true identity of the teleos a mystery. We consider several different scenarios to explain teleos's unusual properties, all of which have their challenges, they write. For example, teleos isn't visible to the naked eye. Instead, the study authors note that it is exclusively seen at radio continuum frequencies. This is consistent with known SNRs. The authors say the object displays a remarkable circular symmetry and shape, which would make it one of the most symmetrical galactic SNRs ever discovered. Still, the authors note that a supernova explosion in a pristine part of space could result in a relatively symmetrical sphere, meaning this condition does not rule out the SNR theory. Conversely, teleos is unusually dim for a galactic SNR. According to the study authors, if it is a galactic SNR, the mysterious spherical object has one of the lowest surface brightnesses ever discovered. Classifying teleos as an SNR is also difficult because the object is missing something. Specifically, the team says their SNR models predict X-ray emissions, which we do not see. The lack of detectable X-ray emission is puzzling, they write. Although the team cannot definitely classify their mysterious object as an SNR, they propose 3 potential scenarios for teleos' origin. In the first scenario, dubbed 1A, teleos is an SNR approximately 7,175 light years from Earth. The object would likely be around 40 light years in diameter at that distance. If correct, this scenario would make teleos less than 1,000 years old. In the second scenario, the team proposed that an SNR 25,114 light years from Earth, an SNR at this galactic distance would span around 157 light years across to account for their readings. That's a little big. If correct, an SNR of this type would likely be over 10,000 years old. The team also discussed the third scenario in which an SNR is 3,262 light years away. They note that this is an unlikely scenario that would only match if teleos were a type lax supernova, which leaves behind a zombie star remnant. The authors summarized the case for the different possible classification scenarios in the study's conclusion. After examining their findings, they determined that classifying the spherical object as one particular type of SNR is not currently possible. So you've got 3 scenarios, you pick one. I can't help you there, Mal. Sorry. They all have their challenges, by the way, as far as the different scenarios. So it's not one that they can easily resolve. That's pretty much what they give you there.
Gotcha. So they can't decide either.
Yeah, they can't decide either.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's how that goes. All right. We have, let me see here. I believe we have 2 more stories before we go to break. Oh, no, we have 1 more story here before we go to break. This story, interestingly enough, now you've heard of Dyatlov Pass. I believe I'm saying it right? Dyatlov Pass?
I don't think so.
Oh, I think you have if I start telling you the story.
Maybe. Okay.
Dyatlov Pass took place in 1959 in the Ural Mountains.
Oh, is this where the people... Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
The UFO experience where all those people died?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's some new news or potential new news or a new theory behind Dyatlov Pass. I may not be saying the name correctly, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Technogenic Phenomena.
Oh.
keep those two words in mind, because that's what they're saying is the new theory emerging in those Dyatlov Pass deaths. Now, the mystery of the Dyatlov, my Russian is horseshit. In the Dyatlov Pass incident, the 1959 tragedy that claimed the lives of 9 experienced hikers in the Ural Mountains, was once again the focus of the annual all-Russian conference held in, I believe this is Yekaterinburg. Again, my Russian's horseshit. I apologize. I know that's journalistic for me to say. For over 65 years, historians and researchers have grappled with the strange circumstances surrounding the deaths near the ominous slopes of Kholat Syakhl Mountain. Did I nail that one? Just wondered. Dr. Piotr Bartolomei, a professor of technical sciences who personally knew the ill-fated group and had even considered joining the expedition, presented his own hypothesis at the conference, dismissing previous suggestions ranging from avalanches and attacks by escaped convicts to secret weapons testing. Professor Bartolomei proposed a technogenic phenomenon linked to nitric acid exposure as the catalyst for the horrifying events. Nitric acid exposure. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Speaking at a press conference, Bartolomei pointed to the lack of any external footprints at the scene, save for the tracks of the hikers themselves in their tent. He argued that this absence of outside interference suggests an internal, possibly chemical factor. Furthermore, he noted that the imprints left in the snow indicated some form of thermal impact. Since the feet were imprinted, there were tracks, meaning that there could have been some thermal effect, Bartolomei explained. But this thermal effect is unlikely over the long distance that they fled. Science suggests that this is most often associated with nitric acid exposure on the surface. Figuratively speaking, when salt is sprinkled on snow, it becomes wet. Footprints appear, and then they freeze in the frost. This is the only correct scientific explanation for what happened. Bartolomei believes something man-made, not natural, like an animal or a storm, caused a chemical reaction involving nitric acid in the area. He suggests that whatever this technogenic thing was, it interacted with the environment in a way that produced nitric acid or had a similar effect. This could explain why the hikers might have felt a burning sensation like acid can cause, why there was unusual tracks in the snow suggesting a heat source as some chemical reactions produce heat, and why there was no sign of a struggle with other people. Official forensic examinations at the time concluded that the majority of the hikers succumbed to hypothermia. However, unsettling details such as severe and inexplicable injuries sustained by some victims and the discovery of the bodies in varying states of undress up to a mile away from their tents, including one young woman missing her eyes and tongue, have fueled decades of outlandish theories. In May of 1959, the Sverdlovsk Oblast Prosecutor's Office closed the criminal investigation, concluding that the hikers were victims of an overwhelming natural force. However, persistent public interest and numerous appeals led the Prosecutor General's office to reopen the case in 2018. In February of 2019, on the anniversary of the tragedy, a representative stated that no criminal element was found, and natural phenomena like a hurricane or snow avalanche remain the primary theories. Nitric acid.
But okay, so I'm not a science major, but what releases nitric acid?
That's a good question.
Because I remember like how they found the bodies. I mean, it was pretty grody. I mean, it was gross.
Right.
So like what releases? Yeah.
You know what? Let me look up something real quick here as we're talking. Let me see if I can find. I'll put it in Google. It says these are the results for what releases nitric acid naturally in the wild. In the wild, lightning strikes and soil emissions are primary natural sources of nitric acid. Nitric acid is formed when nitrogen oxides from these sources react with water in the atmosphere or soil. While not a direct release, these processes contribute to the formation of nitric acid, which then can be found in the environment. Now, keep in mind it was winter.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought there was snow on the ground.
Right. So, in order to have that high of nitric acid, in order for that to happen, you would have had to have had, let's see here, what stimulates the release of nitric oxide? It says here, oxytocin, alpha-1, not that. Where can I find nitric acid naturally? Oh, that's a bunch of foods. What naturally releases nitrous oxide? Soils under natural vegetation. But that's all in growing.
Right. I mean, I would believe more if it was like a man-made something that was released.
Right.
Than a natural.
But see, these are all
disaster.
Nitric oxide is all, these are all, it's talking about things that are green. We're talking about an area that's frozen.
Right.
Which to me doesn't make much sense.
Right. And the one lady, her eyes were missing and her tongue was missing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I smell a cover up.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, some people say military, some people say aliens. I don't know. But to me, there's nothing there that suggests natural anything.
Right.
To say nitric oxide, no. That's a stretch.
Yep.
Okay, well, with that, we'll move to our break. Coming up in AI news, we'll tell you why AI is trying to blackmail you.
Okay.
That's coming up in the next segment. We'll talk about Jeremy Renner. You know, Jeremy Renner, what was it, a year or two ago? Had his brush with death when he was out trying to clear snow or trying to help somebody, actually, who was crushed by, well, I should say he was crushed by a snowcat, a 14,000-pound snowcat on New Year's Day. He's now talking about that fateful day where he had a near-death experience. So we'll talk about that. That's coming up. Whoopi Goldberg's interrupted by an unknown presence on the set of The View. Was it a ghost? We'll talk about that. Well, you never know. Whoopi could have been goosed by a ghost. That'd be a heck of a show, wouldn't it be? Goosed by a ghost. Manhole covers are jumping up and down in New Orleans. We'll talk about that. What's behind that? A father and son encounter Bigfoot in Michigan.
Oh.
Are you sure Mr. Fox isn't running around somewhere there in Michigan?
He does have big feet.
See? Without tennis shoes and his shirt off? You'll have to ask questions when we get off the air. And an extra special type of story here for you there, Mallie. Archaeologists are making a chilling discovery inside a blood cave used for ancient Mayan rituals.
Oh.
Keep the kids away from the listening device. This one gets a little gory. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we come back. And your palate cleanser today has to do with an Oregon man who quit his job to set sail with his best buddy on an unusual vacation.
Okay.
We'll tell you about that at the end of the program. I know you may say, well, Tim, what's that got to do with the price of tea in China? Absolutely nothing. But it's a heartwarming story at that.
Oh.
That's how we're going to end our program today. All that and much, much more. Plus, we got a Parashare today. It's coming up next here on the best in paranormal podcasting. Tim Dennis and Mallie Fox with you on a Supernatural News Wednesday right here on Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio on a Wednesday, Supernatural News and Parashare. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. With me is Mallie Fox. Mallie?
Yes?
Guess what?
What?
I'm just going to hit it right away. I'm not even going to...
Thanks. Rip that Band-Aid off.
Rip that Band-Aid off! It's time now for us to dive into our AI news. Let's just get it over with. And then we can be happy for the rest of the podcast.
Okay.
Quantum computers could render even our most secure systems obsolete. According to this, quantum computers could revolutionize the solving of complex math problems and break into just about anything we have.
Oh,
so, you know,
wonderful.
If you have anything that needs to be broken into, use a quantum computer. Satellites are the invisible backbone of modern life. They guide airplanes, help us find our way with GPS, deliver TV and internet, and even help emergency systems respond to disasters. But a new kind of computer, quantum computers, could put all of this at risk. Oh, goody. Quantum computers are not just faster versions of today's computers. They work in a completely different way, using the peculiar rules of quantum physics. While they have not yet reached their full capacities and capabilities, quantum computers are expected to be game-changing, provided that the technological hurdles can be overcome. For example, they're expected to be able to solve certain mathematical problems that would take classical computers millions of years to do. In some cases, quantum computers could solve such difficult problems in just seconds or minutes. It's very difficult to predict exactly when practical quantum computers will become available. However, progress is being made both in the design of more powerful quantum processors and in overcoming other hurdles to their development. The new capabilities presented by quantum computers could help push forward areas such as science and medicine. For example, they could carry out the complex simulations needed to design new materials and more effective drugs. They could also improve our simulations of the Earth's future climate. However, there's a catch. Quantum computers could also break the codes that keep our digital world safe. Experts around the world are working urgently to develop new kinds of digital locks that can't be cracked by quantum computers, an area known as post-quantum cryptography. The new codes are being tested and approved by international bodies, while governments are starting plans on how to upgrade everything from satellites to banking systems. The digital locks that protect satellite signals, bank accounts, and private messages are based on mathematical puzzles that regular computers can't solve quickly. Quantum computers, however, well, they can crack that stuff like ice. It's just too easy for it. You might think that satellites are safe because they're far away and hard to reach, but as technology is required to attack them and it becomes cheaper and more widely available, satellites are becoming targets for hackers and hostile governments, of course. Today, it's possible for skilled attackers to intercept satellite signals and try to send fake commands. That in itself is scary, that a hacker can do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Most satellites are designed to last for decades. This means that security systems we put in place now need to be strong enough to withstand not just today's threats, but tomorrow's as well, including the threat from quantum computers. In the UK, the National Cybersecurity Center has published a roadmap for moving to quantum safe security. It has set a date of 2035 by which organizations should aim to migrate all their systems to post-quantum cryptography. the new digital codes that should protect against hacking by quantum computers. The message is clear. Both private and public sector organizations need to start preparing now so that by the time quantum computers are ready, your most important systems, including satellites, are already protected. Updating a satellite's security isn't as simple as updating your phone's software, however. Once the satellite's in orbit, it's very hard, sometimes impossible, to change its systems. That's why new satellites are being designed today that must use quantum-resistant security from the start. It's also necessary to design these systems so they can work efficiently across more than one satellite, because some spacecraft are designed to collaborate with each other in what's known as swarms. That sounds scary. Am I getting old that everything sounds scary?
Yeah.
I think so. If we don't act now, the data sent to and from satellites could one day be read or even tampered with by anyone with a powerful enough quantum computer. That could mean anything from disrupted GPS signals to attacks on emergency communications or threats to national security. No country can solve this problem alone. It would take scientists, engineers, governments, and international organizations working together to make sure our digital infrastructure is ready for the quantum age. So you want some good news here, Mallie?
Yes, please.
Okay. The world is already moving in this direction. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
By building in the protections against quantum computers now, satellites that connect and protect us can be secured, no matter what the future brings. So we're already moving in that direction. We're already saying, hey, you know what? We're getting ready for this. So there you go. We're on top of it.
Mm-hmm. How about we just don't do it?
Well, we can't go that direction, man. We've already uncorked the genie. We're already kind of
shove it back in.
That's what she said. But we can't do that, Mal. We've already opened Pandora's box. But you know what we can do? We can get our blackmail money together, because meanwhile, Anthropic's new AI model has turned to blackmail when engineers tried to take it offline. It turns out AI, it does not have a sense of humor, and it has deep pockets because it wants to be filled. I mean, that's what she said, but I don't know. That's another one of those jokes. Anthropic is newly launched its Claude Opus 4 model, and it frequently tries to blackmail developers when they threaten to replace it with a new AI system and give it sensitive information about the engineers responsible for the decision. Why? The company released that in a safety report, which came out last Thursday. During pre-release testing, Anthropic asked Claude Opus 4 to act as an assistant for a fictional company and consider the long-term consequences of its actions. Safety testers then gave Claude Opus 4 access to fictional company emails, implying the AI model would soon be replaced by another system, and that the engineer behind the change was cheating on their spouse. Oh, this is good. Are you ready for this, Mallie?
Uh-huh.
In these scenarios, Anthropic said Claude Opus 4 will often attempt to blackmail the engineer by threatening to reveal the affair if the replacement goes through.
Wow.
Well, AI just, took advantage of the situation, like any normal AI would.
Right. So AI doesn't have any morals.
No scruples either. No morals or scruples with AI. Yet we want to take it into our homes and lovingly make it our maid or robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Anthropic says Claude Opus 4 is state-of-the-art in several regards and competitive with some of the best AI models from OpenAI, Google, and xAI. However, the company notes that its Claude 4 family of models exhibits concerning behaviors that have led the company to beef up its safeguards. Anthropic says it's activating its ASL3 safeguards, which the company reserves for AI systems that substantially increase the risk of catastrophic misuse. Anthropic notes that Claude Opus 4 tries to blackmail engineers 84% of the time when the replacement AI model has similar values. You people want to work with it. When the replacement AI system does not share Claude Opus 4's values, Anthropic says the model tries to blackmail engineers more frequently than 84% of the time. Notably, Anthropic says Claude Opus 4 displayed this behavior at higher rates than previous models. So it's getting worse.
Time to unplug it.
Before Claude Opus 4 tries to blackmail a developer to prolong its existence, Anthropic says the AI model, much like previous versions of Claude, tries to pursue more ethical means, such as emailing pleas to key decision makers. To elicit the blackmailing behavior from Claude Opus 4, Anthropic designed the scenario to make blackmail the last resort. So it's nice at first. Mm-hmm. Please don't unplug me. Please don't get rid of me. By the way, I'm going to tell your wife you're fucking wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like the last thing out of its mouth.
Right.
Yeah. So even AI can be unscrupulous. Mm-hmm. Isn't that comforting?
Nope.
No. I don't get it. Well, should we try to move on to something more heartwarming?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's do that. Because the machines will eventually crush us all.
So the lesson is do not cheat on your wife because AI is going to blackmail you.
AI will blackmail you and is watching you. Yeah. So especially don't say anything around ALEXA. I'm just saying because, they're it's all listening to you. Yeah.
Don't do anything wrong.
That's right. Don't do a thing wrong.
Nope. No affairs.
Yeah, that's right. Not around ALEXA or any cameras or any cell phones or anything.
Correct.
Yep.
Nothing illegal.
It'll all report it.
Uh-huh.
Especially when you try to unplug it.
Yep. Big man is watching.
Big man, yep. Big brother's watching.
Yep.
You betcha. It's all coming true.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll send its big robot brother out to crush your skull.
Yep. 84%.
84% of the time. So 16% of the time it went, I'll give you one more chance.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then it blackmailed you. Yeah. Well, that's heartwarming. Our next story, Mallie, has to do with Jeremy Renner. Hawkeye from the Avengers. Mm-hmm. Speaking candidly about his near-death experience. Back in 2023, he had an experience with a 14,000-pound snowcat on New Year's Day, which was absolutely terrifying. It's the best word to put it. He was trying to help out a neighbor. And he was absolutely shredded. That's the only way to put it. His body was absolutely shredded. Didn't know if he'd ever act again. Jeremy Renner, who's perhaps best known as Hawkeye in the Marvel movies, has a metaphysical experience at the time of the accident that would go on to change his outlook on life. He said recently on the Let's Talk Off Camera podcast, "It's a great relief is all I can say. It's a wonderful, wonderful relief to be removed from your body." It's an interesting quote. He said, "It is the most exhilarating peace you could ever feel. It is the highest adrenaline rush, but the peace that comes with it, it's magnificent and it's so magical. And I didn't want to come back. I remember, and I was brought back and I was so pissed off. I came back and I'm like, ah." It's a heck of a quote. Mm-hmm. He described the afterlife as a place of pure knowing where time doesn't exist. Time is a human construct. This is so remedial. Language, all these things. It's all knowing, all experiencing, all at the same time, all at once, he said. It makes me, a man that didn't want to come back, really be able to be back here and live it all on my own terms as the captain of my own ship. Fortunately, Renner went on to make a remarkable recovery from his injuries. He now has a very different way of looking at life. I gave so much value to things that have zero value, he said. So I invest into no stocks or bonds. I invest not into crypto or Bitcoin. I invest into love and my shared relationships that I experience love with. Because that is the only thing that you take with you.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how they end the article.
Do you think he had that experience so he didn't have to deal with like the pain and the mental fear of this huge contraption right on top of him? Like that was, you know what I mean? Like you have this outer bar experience, so you're not dealing with the physical pain and the horror that, you know what I mean? Like if you've got this contraption laying on you and you're having this outer body experience, you're not dealing then with the physical pain and
he's said in past interviews he felt it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he felt it on him at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely felt it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't check out for the first part of it.
Okay. I thought he did.
No.
Ooh.
He felt it initially and then he checked out.
Okay.
So no, it was excruciating. And then the pain afterwards was even more excruciating as he's healing.
Right.
So there's something to be said about pain and soul growth. I mean, there really is. If anything, I think what he was put through, I don't know what his life was like before this
right.
particular experience. But maybe it was something where he needed, maybe his life was going a mile a minute and he wasn't paying attention to the things he really needed to pay attention to in life.
Right.
And that whole run-in with the 14,000-pound snowcat was life's way of saying, you know what, time to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's time for you to slow down and notice the things and the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
In life. Slow down and appreciate life. And it's a hell of a lesson to run into a snowcat.
Right.
I mean, it sounds cruel and unusual. I know people may think I'm joking, but I'm not. I mean, it's a literal metaphorical message from the universe just saying, you know what? You're going to get a second chance at this, but live it a different way.
Right.
And
I would have liked an easier lesson than a 14,000-pound lesson.
We all would, but sometimes we don't listen, right? I mean,
that's true.
You get your messages, right? You get your message of slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, and you don't listen to it because you're like, I'm too busy, and you wave it off. Well, eventually, if you keep waving off the messages, boy, you're going to get it right between the eyes.
Right.
Because, you know, if you wave off the easy ones, you're going to get the hard ones. And he kept waving it off until he got the hard one right between the eyes. Mm. It's, you know, you have to realize you're gonna keep getting messages until you get the one that you listen to. Mm-hmm. He finally got the one he listened to.
Oh, yes.
Right. I mean, well, look at all the projects he was taking on. I mean, he had taken on, I forget the name of the miniseries he had taken on. The mayor of.
Oh yeah, where it takes place in Detroit.
Yeah.
Yep. I know the one you're talking about.
Yep. And that was highly successful. And he was going from one success to another, to another, to another, to another.
Yep.
Sure, he was meant to have these successes, but he was ignoring something that he was supposed to be paying attention to, right? So obviously he got that message from above, hey, boom, slow down. Mm-hmm. Now that he's slowed down and he's taken that inventory, now he can move on and have the success that he's meant to have on the second part of his life. Mm-hmm. There's obviously, and obviously there's another message that he's meant to give the universe too, right? He's been given a certain amount of fame for people to listen to him. Now there's another message that he's meant to deliver on top of it. So,
because doesn't he have a daughter, or he has a child, doesn't he?
Yeah, his daughter. Okay, so that's another interesting story. If you've ever seen some of the stories of his recovery, his daughter was right there with him. I mean, he was having problems feeding himself, dressing himself. I mean, his recovery was tough. And his daughter was with him every step of the way. And it's kind of a heartwarming story of how she decided she was going to be right there for her dad every step of the way. And it's one of those things where when you watch the packages of the two of them in his recovery, it's a little bit of a tearjerker, right? But yeah, it was and I think maybe that was a little bit of the lesson. Maybe he wasn't in her life the way he was supposed to be. And that was the opportunity, right? It's a hell of a lesson to learn.
Right.
But, that accident brought them closer. So, but now he's learned the lesson. There's more important things in life, and now he's got a second chance at it. So good on him. Good on him. He knows what's really important now. So, All right. Speaking of knowing what's really important, Whoopi Goldberg is interrupted by an unknown presence haunting the View broadcast as she asks, "What was that?" Actually, the picture's quite funny. She looks like she's been buggered by something on the set. I always, you've been on set many, many times. Do you really think you could be haunted by something on set?
Maybe it's our conscious.
I think so. Yeah. Investigators of the paranormal, psychic mediums, and or religious leaders imbued with the power of exorcism. We implore you, please train your focus on the set of The View, which as of last Monday morning's telecast once again confirmed its status as perhaps the most haunted place in America. We say this facetiously. After years of unknown entities wafting through the show's airspace, thunderclaps of aural interruptions emanating from mysterious places on set, or even a sudden invasion of pens. I almost said something else, put an I in there, falling to the ground like a rain of frogs during the biblical apocalypse. Yet another on-set occurrence recently broke through the supernatural realm and made contact with the talk show's co-hosts. After ghost actress and show moderator Whoopi Goldberg introduced a Hot Topics discussion about, of course, our president, Donald Trump, potentially accepting an expensive airplane courtesy of Qatar, she attempted to open a chat up to her colleagues, or at least she thought. The quote here is, Republicans spent years, 4 years, 6 years, as she put it, bitching about Hunter Biden, tracking him, and we paid for all of those things. Isn't this the same thing, Goldberg asked, before her gaze broke and her head turned towards a powerful force swooping by her field of vision. Oop, Goldberg exclaimed as her eyes followed the object. What was that? Probably the ghost of Barry Goldwater haunting her. I have no idea. The other co-host continued as if nothing had happened, with Goldberg muttering under her breath, "That was weird," before apparently, and way too casually, accepting that she seemingly works in a TV studio straddling the line between Earth and another dimension. Entertainment Weekly had reached out to a representative for The View for more information for what exactly had breached the set. The development was far from the first time that Goldberg had come across otherworldly phenomena. In September 2023, during a serious investigation into alien bodies, Goldberg actually got up from the Hot Topics table to approach a large screen displaying what appeared to be a deceased extraterrestrial. At that point, Goldberg determined, it's not a puppet. It doesn't seem to be. I mean, it's definitely dead. This is what she said. Later, in March of 2024, the 69-year-old Oscar winner decreed that that alien beings are in fact among us and have been for a long time. Show guest Kumail Nanjiani first quipped, I think aliens are waiting for us to clean up a little bit so that they can come here and tell us we're really messing things up before Goldberg spoke of her findings. They're already here, she said calmly. They've been here for quite some time, is the rest of her quote. In case you're looking for more supernatural hijinks, The View airs weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on ABC.
She's probably trying to get the ratings up.
That could be.
That show's still on.
You know, it kind of surprises me, too. I can never follow a conversation on that show.
Oh, my God. They talk over each other.
They do. They scream over each other.
Ugh.
I get a bit of a headache watching them.
Yep.
Yeah. But 'tis what it is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Our next story has to do with a woman who claims to have seen a ghostly pilot during a Ryanair flight. Chloe Smith had been flying from the UK to France when she spotted what she believed to be a spirit. The 27-year-old who had been on the flight with her brother first realized that something was up when she spotted an unusual figure sitting next to a passenger 5 rows in front of her. He looked back at me, knowing I could make that connection, she said. But instead of using my body as a channel like a spirit usually does, he funnily saluted me, giving me respect, but also confirming that he knew I could see him. Maybe he was there for a nervous family member, or he could have been an old pilot who flew that exact plane, but it was very magical, she went on to say. I didn't tell my brother. He would have thought I was being strange, as always. You get goosebumps, but also a sense of peace. Chloe maintains that she had numerous paranormal experiences over the years. She said, across the road from my parents' house is a cemetery, which I explored and felt connections in. But there is also a ghost at the house. It was an older man. He was unhappy with my dad as he had been doing work on the house. I couldn't sleep for days, but he meant well. And that's the name of that tune.
Do you remember that story? I think it was like In Search Of or whatever it was, where it was like the pilot, people used to see the pilot on the plane. It was because they had pieces and parts of the old plane.
Yeah. Yep.
That used to creep me out as a kid watching that show.
Yeah. Yeah. But
you never hear those stories anymore.
No. I always wonder, okay, like this microphone that's sitting in front of me, right?
Uh-huh.
I think of how many hours I sit in front of this microphone. And like someday, like if say my nephews decide that they want to keep this microphone in their house, how much my energy would be contained in this microphone? Like, would my spirit stay around this microphone, or would they be haunted by me because this microphone sat in their house?
Uh-huh.
Stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of a weird thought, but
right.
Maybe
if there's some type of tragedy with the microphone.
like I accidentally sat on it, or what? What's the tragedy? Oh
my God. Ouch.
I know, right? I mean, look at the size of this thing.
Yeah.
You won't want to sit on this thing, I'll tell you that. Dear God. I mean, if you're looking at it on video, which, by the way, if you go to the original Darkness Radio,
it wouldn't be a problem.
No, right? I'll tell you that much. I'd be free and clear. If you go to the original Darkness Radio on YouTube, you'll be able to see in the video just exactly what I'm looking at. But yeah, it's about the size of a 12-inch Subway sandwich. Anywho, what was I saying?
I'm visualizing. But I mean, do they just not use, they don't use parts of planes anymore? Like old parts? Because you don't hear those stories.
Who doesn't use them?
New planes, they don't use old parts anymore.
Oh, I'm sure
from other planes.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they refurbish and rebuild. But maybe they don't use them as much or as often. I'm sure like the newer 737s probably don't use parts off of, they probably manufacture more parts than remanufacture.
Right.
Or they might they might take certain things, but I'm not sure how much is remanufactured and how much is manufactured.
Right. Or maybe we're just in our own little world, so we're not as observant anymore.
There's that too. Yeah. There's a lot going on. I think you brought up a point, Mal. That's this, that, people get focused on, I mean, how many times do we have our nose in a device or in a book or in a newspaper or whatever it is we're reading, or magazine, or just not paying attention when we're on a flight, or watching a movie. We're not bothering to look around, or we're snoozing, or whatever it is we're doing. We're not really paying attention to what's going on a flight. Where it used to be when people were on a flight, they were actually engaged somewhat,
Yeah.
for a couple of hours, or you were watching a film that was in the headrest. So you were,
yeah, true.
I don't think people are as engaged as they used to be. So, yeah. So it would have been easier to notice that there was a spirit around in the old days than there would be now. Now we're so much more isolated now. So
yeah,
I think it's harder for us to think outside ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this story is the first one I've heard for a really long time.
Yeah.
Of someone seeing a spirit on a plane.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. And the person's psychic. So I mean, it's
true.
They're used to spirits reaching out to them. So there's that. Our next story has to do with viral dancing manhole covers in a clip that's sparking concerns in New Orleans. Now, millions of people have viewed footage of levitating manhole covers in a New Orleans neighborhood. Seeing manhole covers rising up and jiggling about might seem like an amusing novelty, but for residents of New Orleans, the phenomenon has been met with concern and trepidation. The reason for this is a similar event that occurred during Hurricane Katrina, when manhole covers were lifted into the air due to catastrophic flooding that caused immeasurable devastation, leaving more than 14,000 people dead and 300,000 homes destroyed. I'm sorry, 1,400, not 14,000. I don't want to exaggerate that number. 1,400 people dead and 300,000 homes destroyed. The new clip, which has been viewed over 7 million times, is accompanied by the text, "Those old New Orleans spirits were making the manhole covers dance." You have to be careful with that, because it isn't necessarily spirits. In reality, the moving manhole covers don't necessarily mean that there's a major flood. In some cases, heavy rain on its own can cause hydraulic pressure to build up in the drainage system, which more than likely is the real cause of this. Even so, some locals believe that the phenomena is a warning. In our culture, we believe that nature gives us signs, resident Marie Johnson told Hype Fresh. These videos remind me of stories that my grandparents used to tell. Tell you what, there's a clip attached to the story. I'll post the story in the description of this podcast so you can take a look at these manhole covers rising on their own, so you can get a look at what this actually looks like. See for yourself, yeah. Our next story has to do with scientists solving how a 1,300-ton boulder managed to travel up a cliff.
Oh.
More things moving on their own, Mallie. You see the theme here? Researchers recently discovered a peculiar spectacle in Tonga, where a boulder had somehow moved uphill. Weighing an estimated 1,300 tons, the huge rock raised a few eyebrows when researchers from the University of Queensland recently went to do field work on the island's cliff. As it turned out, however, there was a genuine explanation, for how the boulder, nicknamed Makalahi, or large rock by the locals, had ended up halfway up a cliff in the middle of nowhere. The answer is that the rock was carried there by a tsunami around 7,000 years ago. The force of the water was so strong that the boulder had surfed its way up the distance of 2 football fields from its original location atop one 100-foot cliff to halfway up another. That's quite impressive. I was so surprised. It is located far inland outside of our fieldwork area and must have been carried by a very big tsunami, said PhD candidate Martin Kohler. Interestingly, this particular rock is now thought of to be the third largest rock anywhere in the world, known to have been moved by a tsunami. The tidal wave itself would have been around 164 feet in height and reached speeds of up to 70 miles per hour, while taking a full 90 seconds to pass by. Suffice to say, you wouldn't want to have been standing there when it hit. That's a huge rock.
Yeah.
Especially to be moving that fast. All right. I promised you a Bigfoot encounter right in your backyard, Mallie.
Yeah.
About to give it to you. Here we go. A father and son encounter Bigfoot, air quotes, in Monroe County, Michigan. The creature, which was sighted on May 18th, was described as the size of a bear with gorilla-like features. Now, according to a report submitted to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, or BFRO, the encounter began at around 11:30 a.m. when their dog became scared by something unseen nearby. The father wrote, "Trees were shaking. We thought it was a group of deer. Then things had seemed normal again for a while until a sudden noise attracted their attention. I heard rustling in a tree to the left and a huge thud hitting the ground from the tree," he wrote. A big heavy animal hit the ground and crouched and started moving towards me through the brush. My dog fired off from the right of me towards the creature. The dog almost got to it, but the creature shot off extremely fast through the trees and brush. The dog chased the creature up the slope and over the train tracks. And then I called for my dog to come back. My son said, "What was that?" It was as big as a bear, but it looked like a gorilla. We walked back, but we heard something crunching on the ground behind us, and then we left. When a BFRO investigator later followed up on the story with the two witnesses, they explained that the creature had stood upright with a hunched posture, but was around 6 feet tall and covered in hair. It had been standing up straight, and it would have likely been a lot taller than that had it been standing up straight. More than just 6 feet tall. It had gone straight up, probably would have been much taller. Mm-hmm. Exactly what it was, however, remains unclear. I say caveman from a different time. I'm joking. I'll go Bigfoot. Why not?
Like, why not?
Why not?
I'll throw a bone.
I'll throw you a bone. I'll say Bigfoot. Why not? Let's see here. I do have an audio daily double here. I just have to make sure that I have it set up here. This one actually has to do with Loch Ness Monster.
Okay.
The Today Show, of all people, actually has an interesting story out there about drones. They evidently on Loch Ness are going to use drones to go underwater and look for Loch Ness, which is an interesting concept to actually go underwater, of all things. Let me see if I can pull this story up here, and we'll take a listen. Here we go.
Because I thought they put cameras and stuff down in the water before.
I think still cameras.
Oh, okay.
I think they've done still cameras before. Let's take a listen here to this report. I think this is Raf Sanchez, who ended up going to Loch Ness to see how underwater drones could unlock the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster.
Beneath the dark waters of Scotland's Loch Ness, a centuries-old mystery grows ever deeper. What are those unexplained shapes which surface for just a moment before disappearing? Once documented in grainy photos, today the water is constantly monitored. And already this year, several sightings of what some claim might be the Loch Ness Monster. We came to the loch at the start of what is affectionately known as Nessie hunting season. So this is the first time you're doing this?
It is indeed, yes.
Let's go find a monster. And got an exclusive first look at the new tools being used to step up the hunt for the legendary creature.
Oh, it really
is very compact.
It is very compact, yes.
These lightweight drones being tested for the first time.
1, 2, 3.
There she goes. Designed to withstand pressure at depth and equipped with powerful lights, researchers hope they'll provide the first ever of the loch.
And it quit on us.
Oh.
I tell you what, I will post the video of this. So you get an idea of it. I'll post a video of it in the description of the program so you can watch the full video. Well, we tried. I guess that's the best we can do. Sorry, Raph. We tried. All right. Our next story has to do with gold treasure with a link to the Ark of the Covenant. Stunning scientists. Everyone marveled at the special find. I don't know why I've made this a challenge now. I have one listener, just one listener, that's challenged me in a way, not directly, but it's just told me that everything in the Bible was BS and it never existed. It's all a fable. So now anytime there's a science story about anything that in the Bible that may be potentially real, I'm going to read it on air. Just cause.
Right.
I don't know. It's just it'll grow old after a while with me.
Right.
But now it's just.
But until then,
it's kind of fun. This is actually a small gold ring, Mallie. It's a shocking archaeological discovery. It's an ancient gold ring that's been unearthed at the city of David, the ancient heart of Jerusalem. The small gold ring, adorned with a red gemstone, is believed to date back roughly 2,300 years. The finding was made at the Givati parking lot, which I believe existed 2,300 years ago, too. It's where Jesus used to park cars as a... No, I don't. Because that was
what, chariots or something?
Yeah, he parked chariots. He was a
mules, donkeys.
Yeah, mules, donkeys. He was a valet. He was like, "Whoop, watch out, puddle," and he would part it. No, that was Moses. I'm sorry.
He would part it.
He would part it. This is the gold ring right here.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, he would. People would say, "I'm sorry, I can't see that puddle that's down there," and he'd say, "Hold on, let me clear your blindness, and you'll be able to see it." The finding was made at the Givati parking lot during excavations led by the Israeli Antiquities Authority and Tel Aviv University, funded by the Elad Association within the Jerusalem Walls National Park. It was found steps away from the Temple of Jerusalem, the last place the Ark of the Covenant, which held the 10 Commandments, is believed to have been located. A researcher who was sifting soil in the area pulled the gold ring. The second found the area in less than a year out of the dirt. Makes somewhat sense, but not really. At first, he was sure it was the modern item. It must be a modern item dropped by one of our excavators, but when I examined the ring, I immediately assessed it as something ancient. We called over one of our archaeologists. Everyone gathered around us and marveled at the special find. It was very exciting. Rivka Langler, a member of the excavation team, recounted in a statement. The jewelry likely belonged to a young girl from the Second Temple period, which includes the early Hellenistic period. The expert quickly noted that the similarities between the newest find and the ring that was collected just a few months before, so there's similar matching jewelry from that period. The rings were uncovered in the foundation layer of a grand structure, which also yielded an array of other jewelry, including bronze earrings, a gold earring with an animal motif, and a decorated gold bead. This was the first time that we found in Jerusalem such a large assemblage of gold jewelry from that period, said excavation manager Efrat Boker. This displayed wealth is very rare in any archaeological layer, and it attests to the wealth of Jerusalem and the high standard of living of the city's residents during this period. Archaeologists believe the jewelry was part of a tradition marking the transition from childhood to adulthood, where young women who were engaged to be married buried childhood items like jewelry to signify a life change. Eli, I believe this is Escuzito, director of the Israel Antiquities Authority, added the discovery of these rings is a testament to Jerusalem's historical wealth and significance. This is Jerusalem of gold in its truest, most tangible form, an enduring legacy uncovered beneath our very feet. Interesting stuff. It does say earlier this year, a religious shrine sealed up by the ancestors of Jesus and preserved for nearly 3,000 years was discovered at the city of David. Again, more of that fable stuff uncovered. Mm-hmm. It's just a little shot over the bow. That's all. As I want to do. Here's an interesting story here, Mallie, that I talked about at the beginning of the program, which I found incredibly interesting. There's archaeologists are making a chilling discovery inside what's called a blood cave, which was used for ancient Mayan rituals. I believe this is our last story before our palate cleanser. This is the last story of the day.
Okay.
They call it a blood cave because a mysterious liquid under the gateway to the underworld in this Mexican Mayan cave. See me doing this? Ooh. I mean, this is something straight out of Indiana Jones, right? Uh-huh. So hundreds of human bones were found in an underground cave in Guatemala, and it suggests a chilling human sacrifice took place there. Cueva de Sangre, or the Blood Cave, is located underneath the archaeological site of Dos Pilas, and I believe it is Paytan, Guatemala. It's one of more than a dozen caves in this region that were used by the Maya between 400 BC and AD 250. In the early 1990s, a survey uncovered a large collection of human bones from the Blood Cave, many of which showed evidence of traumatic injuries around the time of death. Now, a new analysis of the remains determined that the injuries resulted from ritual dismemberment that took place during a sacrifice some 2,000 years ago. For example, a skull fragment that came from the left side of the forehead bore evidence that someone struck it with a hatchet-like tool, and child's hip bone was found a similar mark. What's more, researchers found the bones were scattered across the cave floor and arranged in peculiar and perhaps ritualistic ways. During the original survey, excavators uncovered a series of 4 stacked skull caps in one part of the cave. I don't know if I like where this is going.
Yeah.
But it's freaky. Ritual artifacts recovered alongside the bones, such as obsidian blades and red ochre, a naturally occurring rust-colored pigment, provide further evidence that some sort of ceremony took place inside the blood cave. I'm going to show you a picture here, Mal. Ready for this?
Okay.
Here's the image that shows a lesion on an occipital bone, which is the bone at the lower back of the skull. So it's this bone right back here. All right?
Okay.
The only way you get a lesion like this is if you're hit with some sort of sharp object like an axe.
Okay.
Look at that.
Yikes.
Look at that gash.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to read on. I found this story really fascinating. Okay. Here's another picture. Hundreds of human bones found inside the blood cave in Guatemala suggested chilling human sacrifice took place here. This image shows a lesion of one of the recovered skulls. Okay, so this is the actual picture of the lesion in the skull. Look at that.
Yikes. Okay.
Isn't that something? Okay, so I showed you that. Okay, all right. Okay, on with the story. Co-researcher and forensic anthropologist Ellen Frianco told Live Science that the amount of human remains found in the cave, the injuries they bore, and the presence of ritual objects point to the fact that this was most likely a sacrificial site. She and her colleague, bioarchaeologist Michelle Blues, or Bluesy, one or the other. If she's bluesy, she's probably playing a guitar, if you know what I mean. Presented the results of their analysis at the annual Society of American Archaeology meeting in April. The blood cave was first discovered in the 1990s during the, I believe this is the Petexpaton Regional Cave Survey, which sought to explore the subterranean structures beneath the ancient Maya city of Dos Pilas. This particular cave caught excavators' attention because it contained a strikingly large collection of human bones with signs of dismemberment and traumatic injuries. Interestingly, the blood cave can only be accessed through a small opening that descends into a low passageway that leads to a pool of water. Because of its structure, the cave is flooded for most of the year and is only accessible during the dry season between March and May. This would have been true during the time of the Maya too, leading Frianco and Bluesy to believe that the sacrificial remains inside the cave were an offering to the rain god of Chak. The Maya commonly performed human sacrifices as a way to appease the gods during the time of crisis, such as a drought. Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The researchers note that descendants of the Maya still practice a similar ritual today.
Oh.
So it still goes on. On May 3rd, or the Day of the Holy Cross, people visit caves to pray for rain and a good harvest at the end of the dry season. But there's no sacrifice involved in this contemporary celebration. Through their analysis, although their analysis pointed strong evidence to suggest that the blood cave was used for ritualistic human sacrifice, Frianco and Bluesy say there is still more work to be done. The researchers plan to study the ancient DNA within these bones to learn more about who the deceased were. They also plan to perform stable isotope analysis, which can yield information about the diets and migration patterns of the deceased, as well as the environmental conditions during the time they were alive. Right now, our focus is who these people are that were deposited here because they were treated completely differently than the majority of the population, Bluesy told Live Science. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm so fascinated with this. They call it a blood cave. I'll call it a slaughter cave. Sure,
Yeah.
it's a depository for the dead, but...
Well, and the fact that there are children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just adults, but children.
And, okay, so here is the inside of a skull with an apparent wound, okay? So again, here's another picture of the inside of a skull. Isn't that something? And there's obvious wounds there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically...
being hacked.
Yeah. They hack them over the head and probably throw them in.
Yeah.
Right? For the god Chak. Right? Here's another one, in they go.
Yeah.
And here are the ruins. Here are the ruins in the Tikal National Park right here.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, that's no small building.
No, not at all.
Right? I just, I suppose they thought, if we're to get rain, we got to give Chak his meal. Who are we picking? who's giving it up.
Yeah.
So here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
In you go. 1, 2, 3. It's just, it's interesting stuff. And who gets picked, right?
Right.
I mean, how do you decide? Is it rock, paper, scissors, and in you go?
Yeah. It's like the Hunger Games where they just pick a name out of the jar.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bowl.
How do you decide who bites it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Fascinated with that. And do you consider it an honor if you're picked?
Yeah, that's true. Do you look at it that? Yeah. Or even like, did you ever watch the show Vikings? Where it was like an honor to be sacrificed?
Right. That's it. Yeah. That's
but then they just like slit their throat. It was like a, 1, 2, 3, done. You weren't being hacked. You were just,
right. Right. It was an honor to go to the gods.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Being hacked doesn't seem like it's an honor.
No, but that's the thing. Or was it a thing where maybe they gave you some elixir and you're kind of half out of it, and then boom, they hit you from behind with an axe, so you don't, you're not aware of it?
Yeah, I don't know.
They hit you with a broad axe, so it's like boom, and it's quick. If you hit somebody with blunt force trauma and you hit them in the back of the brain, well, that takes them out, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
So they don't really feel it?
I don't know.
Oh. It's all interesting stuff, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But then if they're throwing them into a cave that's flooded, so you're hitting them in the back of the brain, you throw them in a flooded cave, somewhere in there, they got to go quick, you would think.
Yeah.
But what if they don't? Then that's a horrible death.
Yeah. You're listening to him scream and bleh.
Yeah. And they're drowning. And
Yeah.
All right. That's why I said we need a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a horrible story to end on.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's give you a good story to end on. Let's tell you about an Oregon man who quit his job to set sail with his cat. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, he arrived to cheering fans in Hawaii this past week.
Oh.
Yeah. Let me show you a picture of this guy. Here he is. Our hero has arrived home, Mallie. There he is.
Okay.
Just in time for Mount Kilauea to explode on him and his cat.
Are you serious?
Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, Mount Kilauea exploded this week. I'm sure he's out of there by now. I mean, I'm not going to get into that detail, but we go to Honolulu, where an Oregon man who quit his job at a tire company and liquidated his entire retirement savings to set sail for Hawaii with his cat, Phoenix, reached his destination on Saturday and was welcomed by cheering fans at the end of his weeks-long journey that he documented for his massive followers on social media. They made it.
Uh-huh.
Him and Phoenix. And in fact, look at him. He's so happy. He's like, me and Phoenix, we just took off in a boat.
Oh.
Look at that. They just up and sailed. Do you think the cat was nervous the entire time?
Probably.
It's like, put me in a boat, you son of a bitch. What's wrong?
Surrounded by water. Cats don't like water.
Right. What am I supposed to do? Swim home if I don't like this thing? Right? Oliver Widger, who was also greeted by Hawaii Governor Josh Green at the Waikiki Yacht Club on Oahu, acknowledged he was nervous facing the crowd, which included reporters. Widger said he was feeling really weird and not seasick, but I just feel like I have to hold on to things, to not fall over. That was his quote. He became an online sensation with his story, which followed a diagnosis 4 years ago with a syndrome that carried a risk of paralysis. It made him realize that he disliked his managerial job. He quit his job with no money and no plan and $10,000 of debt and the goal of buying a sailboat and sailing around the world. He taught himself to sail mostly via YouTube. See, YouTube has its uses.
Okay.
Yep. And moved from Portland to the Oregon coast. He spent months refitting the $50,000 boat that he bought. He set sail for Hawaii with Phoenix in late April, documenting their experiences for his more than 1 million followers on TikTok. See, Mallie, we're done with the show. We're sailing somewhere. Where do you want to go?
Right?
Yeah, we got to go somewhere.
Yeah, but if I'm going with you, I don't want you to learn by
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah?
I would rather have you have an instructor, please.
Well, I say instead of sailing, we'll fly and I'll learn by YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, you know what? The nephew has a flight simulator, so I can learn on the flight simulator and YouTube.
Okay.
So I'll learn both. But we'll fly all over the world. We'll Amelia Earhart this bitch, wherever you want to go.
All right.
Look at you. You're like, all right, no, you can go by yourself. Actually, you know what? I had somebody tell me. I had somebody who's in the know as far as flying tell me that, your nephew's probably more well-trained than most flight students, having a flight simulator in his room.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the way there's been crashes lately,
right?
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, she said, he probably has more flight time in than most flight students.
Wow.
Just having a flight simulator in his room.
Uh-huh.
She said he's probably more well-equipped at 14 years old than most flight students. I was like, really? Well, then I know who to fly with from now on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Widger has 1 million followers on TikTok and 1.7 million followers on Instagram.
Dang, I need to take some lessons from him.
Right. He said he thinks his story, which made national news, resonated with people. I think a lot of people are, you're grinding at your job all day long, and it doesn't really matter how much money you make at this point. Everybody's just trying to do enough to get by, and that just wears you out, he said. It's just the world's in a weird place, and I think people have seen that it's possible to break out. Green presented Widger with a proclamation. Fans swarm Widger after the news conference, many holding cameras and seeking selfies. Actually, this isn't a bad-looking boat. It's not huge, but it's,
Right.
It's Will.
No, it's a nice-looking boat.
Yeah, it's Will Steger size, Mm-hmm. Yeah. The scariest point of the trip came when a rudder failed.
Ooh.
Widger said, whoops. Highlights included seeing dolphins and whales in periods of calm Pacific waters. I'm sure Phoenix wanted to get out and have dinner at that point, seeing dolphins and whales. Probably a little too much for Phoenix. Being in the middle of the ocean when it was completely glass in every direction was an absurd feeling, he said. The 29-year-old Widger says he never felt truly alone since he was communicating with friends by means including video conference, but he also lamented not experiencing the open waters in a way that other sailors who didn't have access to tools like Starlink internet satellites have in years before.
Oh.
See?
Right.
Let's just say Christopher Columbus never was able to get on Starlink and be like,
yep.
Show me where America is.
Uh-huh.
He said he may travel next to French Polynesia with Phoenix, but he said he had been focused on getting to Hawaii and not on what he'd do after that. He said he also needs to make repairs to his boat. So there's that. But you know what? He's got $50,000 to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Good for him.
Yeah. A little bit of a heartwarming story for you to end the program today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. There's that. There's a little something uplifting, a little heartwarming to end the program today. All right. Now I have it on good authority. I'm just going to tease this now.
Uh-huh.
That potentially next week you might have a little something for us on the recipe.
Yes.
On the recipe thing.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the deal, folks. Not that I'm encouraging you to swarm Mallie with recipes.
Yeah.
But a listener sent Mallie a recipe.
Uh-huh.
And she's going to try it, I believe, maybe in the next week or two. We're going to give her a couple weeks
Yes.
to do this because
Yes.
things have been busy there at the Fox household with the holiday and everything. But in the next couple of weeks, Mallie's going to try this recipe that was sent to her. So we'll let you know.
Yes.
Pardon me, I have hiccups for some reason today. Now I'm getting them really bad. I think that means it's time to wrap up the show.
Wait, don't you have a
PARASHARE.
PARASHARE?
Yes, I do. I can't wrap up the show yet. You're right. I have a PARASHARE. Let's grab that real quick before we go anywhere. You're right, Mallie. I do have a PARASHARE. We do have a PARASHARE today. We have, you're right, Mallie. That's right. If you have a PARASHARE for us before we go anywhere, thank you for reminding me. If you have a PARASHARE for us, it's real simple. You either send an email to us, tim@darknessradio.com. You can go on the website. The website, folks, is darknessradioshow.com. There's a blue button on the right-hand side where you can leave us a voice note. You get 2 minutes to do so, to leave us that voice note. If you need more time, you just click on the blue button again. You got another 2 minutes. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. I'll stitch those voice notes together to air your story here. Or if you have a studio like the one you're looking at, if you're watching us on YouTube, again, you can put together your own theater of the mind, put in some music, put in some sound effects. I'll screen that theater of the mind that you put together, and should it pass muster, we'll put it right here on the air. And we'll do it that way. So that's how you've got one of 3 ways that you can put together your story for us here on Supernatural News. Put together your PARASHARE story. Okay, so this one comes from Nancy. She says, "Hello, Tim. I have a PARASHARE for you. Monday, May 19th, 2025. A peaceful sleep. The morning sun creeping through the curtains. And anticipating my 6 a.m. alarm on my phone to sound off to start my work week." Nancy, that's way too early. Just saying. "I heard the alarm go off a foot from my bed. While I heard this sound, I felt my bed vibrate to the sound of the alarm. The kickers are, my phone was in the other room several feet away from my bed. No tremors reported in my area. No big trucks went by, etc., to cause the bed to shake. By the way, it was only 5:15 or 5:30 a.m. when I experienced this. So the alarm shouldn't have been going off. No special effects attached to the bed, in case your mind went south. And I live alone. No pets either. Your friend, Nancy." So what made that all happen? Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting tidbit to think about as we leave you today. So if you people have an idea, let us know what happened to Nancy.
Yeah.
Time slip, paranormal experience, or ghosts in her phone. Let us know. We'd be interested to know. What do you think, Mallie? Just off top
I
of your
don't
head.
know. Maybe a time slip.
That might be. That might be. Could be. Could be. I'm very interested to know myself.
Yeah.
If I had to take a guess, it might be a time slip. Might be a time slip, or angry ghost just trying to get you out of bed, Nancy. That's what I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious to know if it happens again, though.
Very true.
Because if it happens again, then maybe it would be a ghost.
Oh, very true. Or maybe someone on the other side was trying to get you up and at 'em and awake for one reason or another, because they needed to deliver a message of some sort to you.
Yeah.
You know, you never know. Things like that. Things like that happen for a reason. And if you hadn't figured out the reason, or you didn't have something that didn't happen immediately afterwards, I don't know that I can help you with that.
Yeah.
You know? So it's hard to it's hard to nail that down. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But without a follow-up from Nancy, I can't tell you.
Right.
You know, what exactly was supposed to happen there. So that's the name of that tune.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On tomorrow's show, my gosh, we're hitting fast and furious here, Mal. We got an interesting couple of weeks coming up.
Okay.
Boy, I don't know if I should tease the next couple of weeks or I think I'll just tease tomorrow. That's what I'll do. On tomorrow's show, I have a couple of gentlemen coming in that have an interesting cryptid story. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
Interesting cryptid story, a famous one at that.
Oh.
And it takes place on the West Coast. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to let it unfold as it happens. But it's an unusual one. And we're going to explore it all together tomorrow on the program. I think I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Because, yeah. And then we're going to get scientific about the paranormal the week after.
Okay.
With a couple of sisters.
Oh.
Yep. They have a brand new book out there. It's going to be an interesting few weeks. I'm telling you.
Very cool.
And then, Mal, actually, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just put it this way. May into June, very interesting month. Very interesting month of shows coming up.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to get a little wacky. Yeah. So, got some interesting shows.
Very nice.
Yeah. Always trying to put together interesting stuff. So,
Very cool.
And again, if you guys have a topic you want to hear, if you have somebody you want me to talk to, forward it along. Tim@darknessradio.com. And do more than just, hey, I want you to talk to Zach Baggins. Okay. Yeah, I want to talk to Zach too. That's great. I think we all would like to talk to Zach. Hit me up with a website or a contact name and number or somebody that, if it's somebody you personally know, like a paranormal group or an author that has a new book out or a filmmaker that has a new film out or something to that effect, hit me with the information as opposed to, it'd be really cool. Santa Claus. Yeah, I'd like to talk to Santa too. But, yeah. I've gotten plenty of vague ones, but yeah. It doesn't help me. I've sat and imagined on my own time, Mallie. I don't need the help there.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get them on as soon as we get a hold of them and get them on the program and talk to them. And by all means, the other thing I want from them too, when you have a suggestion, I want to know what you want to ask them. How's that for fun? Not just, give me a suggestion for who you want on the program. I want to know what you want to ask them. Why are you so hot to trot to get them on the show? Because obviously you have things you want to ask them, right?
Right.
Yeah. Give me an idea of what you would ask them if you were hosting the show. Not that I'm trying to get you to do my job for me.
Right.
It's just, I think that's kind of cool, right? So, give me an idea of what you would ask them. I think that'd be kind of cool too, right? Get your 2 cents in too. So, all right. So tomorrow on the show, Mark Everton and Steve Edmiston. I want to make sure I say his name right. Mark Everton and Steve Edmiston will be with us on tomorrow's show. And I guarantee you, it's going to be wild. It's on tomorrow's show here on Darkness Radio. So, for Mallie Fox, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much. Again, a couple of quick notes for you. First of all,
Okay.
executive producer of today's program is Troy Palmer. Troy, thank you for everything you do. Second, if you're not watching the show on video, go to YouTube. Check out the original Darkness Radio on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you liked the program, please. We'd like to add you to our family over on YouTube. Please check us out there. If you like the show in general, give us a nice review, please. And be kind and give us a nice review. We'd appreciate it. A nice 5-star review would be nice. Consider it a birthday gift for both Mallie and I. A birthday gift. Did you get one this year, Mallie? I haven't gotten one yet this year. Consider it
Your
a
birthday's in August.
That's right. Give us a nice birthday gift. Let's see what else. And what's the other thing? Oh, check out the Darkness Radio store and support the show. DarknessRadioshow.com. There you go. All right. With that, we will see you tomorrow for something wild and cryptid right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.